Ukrainian elite forces counterattack against Russian forces during summer offensive. The Russians launched their long-anticipated summer offensive on Kharkiv, aiming to reverse the losses suffered in 2022 and collapse the Ukrainian front from Vovchansk. But as Russian Spetsnaz units led the charge, they were met head-on by French Special Forces volunteers fighting for Ukraine, triggering an unexpected brutal clash. The Russian forces in this area are to retake territory lost to Ukraine during the Kharkiv counteroffensive in 2022 and achieve what they failed to do last year in 2024. If Russians achieve a breakthrough at Vovchansk, they will continue their offensive along the Seversky Donets River and threaten to outflank the Ukrainian forces at Kupiansk, placing the Ukrainians at risk of frontline collapse and taking much of territory in the process. As you remember from a previous report, the Russians had already initiated the first phase of their attacks with large reconnaissance and force operations, meant to test the Ukrainian defenses, but were destroyed even before they crossed the administrative border. These and other assaults indicate that Russians are already setting their plans in motion. Zooming into Vovchansk, the entire town was left in ruins after the brutal fighting that took place during the initial Russian offensive of 2024 and subsequent positional battles within the town. The Russian forces are in control of the northern part of the town, holed up in basements as there are no standing buildings left. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian forces are positioned in the southern part of the town along the riverbank and in the local aggregate plant, allowing the Ukrainians to maintain a tactical presence in the town. This enduring tactical presence and the severe damage to the town itself created a no-man's land between the Russian and Ukrainian lines, where the collapsed buildings and ruins prevent either side from establishing long-term positions. In Vovchansk, the scale of destruction has left Russian infantry units exposed, with no intact buildings or basements for cover. Forced to operate in open rubble, they become easy targets for Ukrainian drones. Over a year of futile assaults has turned the town into a graveyard of Russian troops, each wave falling where the last one died, forced to walk over each other's bodies. The Russians understood that making progress in Vovchansk is extremely unlikely, which is why they are now attempting to widen the front east of Tychy, trying to overextend Ukrainian lines. The Russians initiated their assaults in this area by advancing through the forest, led by Special Forces operatives of Spetsnaz. However, the Ukrainians did not leave this area undefended, as a contingent of Ukrainian foreign fighters was located there. The Russian special operatives were caught off guard as they encountered their match in elite, ex-Special Forces, French volunteers serving with the Ukrainian military intelligence. The French opened fire on the Russians, prompting the Russians to fire back and reveal their positions, whereafter the French moved quickly to gain complete fire superiority. The distance between the French and the Russians was close to the point that fighters of both sides could hear each other's yelling and commands amidst the intense battle. Unfortunately for the Russians, they were no match for the French ex-Special Forces. As the French advanced, moving past the bodies of the ones they killed, they directed artillery fire on the remaining Russian positions, decimating the Spetsnaz fighters and taking the day. Meanwhile, an FPV drone operated by the Magyarország Brigade successfully destroyed a loaded Russian BM-21 Grad multiple rocket launcher in Russia's Kursk region. Footage of the strike was published on the official YouTube channel of the brigade's commander, Robert Brondy. The Ukrainian drone scored a direct hit on the rocket pack, triggering a powerful simultaneous detonation of the munitions. The destruction of the Russian MRO was recorded on video by another Ukrainian drone for objective monitoring. An explosion of such magnitude left no chance of survival for the crew of the Russian Grad, if they were inside the cabin or near the launcher at the time. Ukrainian defenders continued to destroy the invaders' equipment and weaponry both in temporarily occupied territories and on Russian soil. Specifically, since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, the Russian invaders have lost over 200 BM-21 Grad multiple rocket launchers, either destroyed or damaged. Following the widespread use of strike UAVs, primarily FPV drones on the front lines, Russian forces began outfitting their equipment, including NLRS, with anti-drone protection. However, due to the design features of these systems, such protective measures have proven to be largely ineffective.